It is important for us to question another's intention, and it is just as important to question our own. Sometimes people in higher positions try to puff themselves up in the hope that they can stand above us, gain influence, and control us in some way. People also attach themselves to a certain group with a view to gain more power and put more weight behind the words that they speak. I personally ended up questioning those belief systems I was born into and chose to move away from those beliefs. At some point I recognized that these belief systems never actually aligned with who I was to my very core. It is okay to question beliefs, is it not? If it is not okay to question beliefs, then why not? Is it equal give and take if one expects another to adjust and compromise to meet their needs, but when it comes to reciprocating this, they expect immunity? When one doesn't expect to have to ever compromise or say sorry, then I question whether what they offer is a two-sided relationship. I ask whether their intentions are for the highest good of all. This is not to say I judge them for how they live their life, as judging is very different to protecting oneself. With a view to be protective of our energy and live our most authentic life, we should be mindful of whether the other person's intentions are good or bad before accepting them into our life. If we learn to live authentically and protect our energy, we can make a greater difference out in the world. Now, if we were to gossip about or allow for negative thoughts about this person to cycle around in our head, then yes, we may be laying judgment on them. This is a whole other story. I am a Pisces moon who has always tried to view things from a higher perspective. This has served me well, and although I carry with me various thoughts, I have always been ready to make the relevant adjustments if I see a need, but some aren't so willing to make any adjustments in return. That is a choice. Some are also not willing to apologize for the hurts that they cause another, but instead choose to push responsibility for any failures in the relationship onto the other. This is also a choice. When a person has spent 40 years adjusting and readjusting to fit in with another person's wishes, only to have the responsibility for any failures in the relationship pushed onto them, they start questioning when it might be their turn to receive and find balance. And when they start questioning when it might be their turn, they then begin to question why they continually adjust. There have been way too many times I have adjusted my boundaries. I'd get to a point within the relationship where I would decide enough was enough, and at that point I would ensure that I was seen and heard as I walked out the door, and then the other person would question my intentions at the point I refused their cup of love. They wonder why I have done this, even though I am deciding to do for them as they have previously done for me. It shouldn't be an eye for an eye, but that is what it has the potential to become. I make the choice not to continually adjust my boundaries anymore, because if I continually adjust my boundaries, then my intentions become diluted. I work instead on being authentic from the very beginning of each relationship. It's important to note that I do not pretend to be an expert on this. I am still very much learning. I used to give people the benefit of the doubt that they might do the right thing by me energetically, but it wears very thin when a person consistently offers just one more chance, when the other has already quite strongly shown that their underlying intentions aren't good. At some point we must decide there are no more chances. So how do we handle it when we receive clarity that another has decided they will live in their ego for a while? Do we stand behind them? If so, why? And if we decide that we no longer wish to stand behind them and they say something like, "Look at how much I've done for you," or perhaps they try to use some form of manipulation or baiting to draw us back in, do we stay or do we go? Sometimes another person's intentions are obvious, but we allow their words to cut us like a sword anyway. It is time to see it for what it is and start to move away from people with low vibrational energies. If we all band together and decide to disallow certain behaviours in our life, then people living too much in their ego will have less to choose from by way of supply. If they have little to no supply available, they have little to no choice but to adjust. By us banding together and disallowing toxic relationships, we are creating a better world because we are intentionally working towards a more conscious world. But if we stay and allow for it to continue, then we accept and enable these behaviours. Sometimes there is no point in bringing up the things of the past unless we have come to a point that we are ready and willing to take a different road. When I have in the past brought up certain topics, I have observed people's reaction or response. Previously, I have not felt seen or heard by certain people. Sometimes we are ghosted or discarded when we speak our truth, which are both forms of control and communication. Other times we see people try to gain back the control that they once had and try to dim or steal our light through some form of manipulation. Other times people try to buy our affection with a hope that their flaws might be excused. I have fully come to terms with the fact that people do these things, and I understand that for some they will never actually be able to look at my light, and therefore always struggle to truly hear and see me for who I am. And that's okay, not everyone has to be in my life. I know within myself that if those who have hurt me came with a willingness to be truly vulnerable rather than hiding in their shadows, then they would find their own light, and they would see that I am then not only accepting of them, but I encourage that they shine their light. When we live in alignment with ourselves, we understand there is absolutely no need to be jealous of another. All I am asking is that we all live consciously and always align ourselves with that which is for the highest good of all. If we all aim for that in every decision that we make, then we are raising the consciousness of the world as a collective. A healthy relationship is one where you both see and hear the other. That is the relationship I am constantly reaching for. That is the relationship I truly deserve. I have some relationships like this in my life, and I am truly grateful for them. Without these relationships in my life, I would not have the awareness of what is a healthy relationship and what is not. If a person truly loves us, they will seek to have good intentions. They will have a willingness to work on and continuously improve on the relationship and continually grow with you as a person. If both parties live authentically, it means both parties are living more consciously. This is a good thing. If we are not moving through life in a conscious way, then we are not aware of what exactly we are doing and the intentions behind it. If our intentions are good, do they flow through everything that we do? Are some of our intentions good, but not others? Do certain people or situations cause for us to have bad intentions for whatever reason? Perhaps because we are jealous or don't want to look at ourselves. Do we think that certain people or groups owe us something? Because this too can cause us to have a bad intention in how we approach something. I stand for justice when people show that they have bad intentions towards me, but can this justice turn into a bad intention? For obvious reasons, people don't like when I stand for justice, and so this tends to play out in a very negative way. Others try to push against it and gain back their control. They are not used to me acting out in this way. The question is, who is the winner when both parties try to hang on to control within a situation? Throughout my lifetime, I have consistently reviewed whether my intentions were good or bad, rather than looking at it from a place of control. I have no doubt that people have thought I was arrogant when they observed how certain endings played out. Sure, I can be arrogant, or perhaps I had simply had enough, and so this great power I held within would shine through. A great power I'd normally hide, as I was taught not to show it to anyone. At the end of the day, we cannot pressure another to see something from our perspective. The truth of the matter is, they either see it or they don't. The truth of the matter is, they either have good intentions or they don't. So based on what another does today, what choice will you make? Will you stay or will you go?